Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, females and males. How are you doing tonight? Welcome to Beer Blather 204, Civil Warts. And before we even start, let me tell you a couple of things, just to get it out of the way. We're coming in on our channel in Odyssey. The link for those of you in any other platform is provided in the description. Please come on in and check uh, with us. Chat will be only read and answered in the Odyssey channel. We are also coming in on Twitter through three timelines. Mine, Quadverums, and I always keep doing that. And Thomas is over there. So feel free to like, uh, retweet, and but if you put a comment, maybe we'll get to it later, maybe not. I don't know. We're not going to be monitoring during the transmission. And in YouTube, where there are still people who claim to eat for reasons I do not know, but we will not be checking that chat either. So if you want to talk to us, you come to Odyssey. If you want to support us, please come to Odyssey, click on support and make a contribution to the channel, or you can use like a super chat. You click on a $sign and send us a message. And if all else, oh yeah, and of course you can become a member of the Odyssey channel by clicking on join and picking one of the several levels available. If all else fails, you can come to uh, quadverum.com/support, where we'll be happy to take your money to help us with this channel and with SQV, or Social Club Verum. And having said all of that, this is Saul Montes-Bradley, the largest human suppository of useless information. By the way, you know how many times people say that because they don't get it? The human repository of useless information. And with me, right there, is Thomas Wictor, the only living expert in World War I flamethrowers. And hello, Thomas. How are you doing tonight?
Well, one of California's private prides and joys is the burger chain In-N-Out. You've heard of it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
In-N-Out made an announcement today. For the first time in its 76-year history, it must begin to close stores. And the reason is, try and guess what the reason is.
They can't guarantee the safety of their employees.
Exactly. It's crime.
Oh,
Beginning in Oakland, they're going to start shutting down In-N-Out burgers because no cops, no repercussions for crimes, and Californians like to brag about everything, especially Southern Californians. I had to take my brother's car in to get smog checked. First I took my own car, and then I took his car. Both times, a deaf old California man came in. He knew the people who run the smog check place, and he started talking to them in a screaming voice because he was deaf and wouldn't wear a hearing aid. And all they talked about, both these two completely different men, was how much money they're making. And it was remarkable. It was the most gauche, pathetic thing. And the second guy, I have no idea how old he was. He was older than you and I. And
about that's old.
Well, he was wearing a black leather jacket, black trousers, aviator length glasses, sunglasses, and he had the hardest soled shoes. I'm sure they were some kind of designer, like Garbanzo Gabash or whatever, And so he had this little it was some kind of herding dog, but it was a tiny version of it, like an Australian Shepherd or something with no tail. And this thing was wandering around the place, and every now and then the guy would stop and like yell at the dog, get over here. And then he would walk after it with his shoes going tok tak tok tak. And finally he got so enraptured with talking about how much money he was making. The dog came over and it had these little sad eyes, and it looked up at me. So I did the thing where you stick your hand out with your fingers curled back, and the dog sniffed it. And then, I said, that's a good girl. That's a good girl. And I started stroking its head. And it sat down next to me and leaned against me. And every now and then it would look back up to make sure that I wasn't going to beat it. And then eventually, after it had figured out that I was benign, it stopped wandering, and it went over and sort of sat pretty far away from its little owner. But that's all who's going to be left in this state. It's going to be illegals. Now the illegals are starting to crap everywhere, just like the homeless people. They're crapping in the parks, and they're crapping on people's front porches. And
it's good for the greens, It's like organic. How shall I put this? Fertilizer. They're going to make California greener through tons of shit.
No, it isn't. It's humans. I know the East Asians, the Chinese use. Okay, remember when the North Korean border guard escaped over the border and they shot him full of holes and he survived? He was the most riddled. He was totally riddled with parasites. Like his stomach was full of worms, and they said it was from eating food fertilized with human manure.
Yeah.
And,
By the way, don't go spreading it around. But during the COVID, remember that deer caught COVID in the Midwest. That was traced to shit solids from New York.
Okay.
In New York, they have a lovely plant on the Hudson River that treats the sewage and drops the water purified into the Hudson River, and the dry detritus is then packed and shipped to the Midwest to use as organic fertilizer. Apparently, viruses survived the damn thing, and when that shit dust was spread, the wind picked it up. So essentially, hello, people in the Great Plains, you've been breathing New York shit for quite some time, and so did the deer, and that's how they caught COVID.
That's how they what?
How they caught COVID.
Cut.
Isn't that interesting?
Okay, your audio is really muffled. It's hard.
What the hell's going on with my audio?
I don't know. It's really hard to understand you.
Yeah, and now yours is cutting for me. Let me get out and come back in.
Okay.
I'm sure you can keep everybody's attention in the meantime.
Yeah. No, the illegals are now crapping all over New York City because they have no place to put them. And anyway, I mean, a lot of these are people who've never seen a toilet in their lives. They have no running water, so they're used to crapping on the ground, in the fields, wherever. But it's destroying both coasts, both strongholds of Democrat votes, and they're being hoisted on their own human fecal matter petards by allowing this. And now the torrent, the wave, the thundering herd of illegals has finally reached their shores and are impacting their lives. And so we believe in share the wealth, and we've got a wealth of illegal aliens right now. So enjoy your new foreign-born fecal matter coastal people, because this is your ideology that brought these people here. But the state here is we're hemorrhaging businesses. We were hemorrhaging the middle class, and now we're hemorrhaging the wealthy. So, are you back? Nope, can't. Now you're.
How about now?
Much better.
Much better?
Much better.
How about now?
Yeah, even better.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
We're back in business.
Okay, now you're intelligible too. So.
I am?
You are.
That would be a first in years.
Well, before it was like, and then twice it was. So
all I did with the technical prowess that I could master was unplug everything and plug it again.
Yeah. I mean, I have a new Mac, and the latest operating series update is so buggy that I have to shut the computer down and restart it once a day.
Yep.
And, it's like, I know people hate Macs, but I just found that PCs, I mean, you build your own computers, but I just found that PCs are not user-friendly for me. I've been using Mac since 1999, so I see no reason to change. But the quality. Every time they improve something, they make it worse, and everybody talks about this, but doesn't seem to impact their mindsets at all. So I don't know.
But it does excite the two neurons between their ears.
My brother tells me that, was it Douglas or McDonnell Douglas, that did Boeing merge with McDonnell Douglas?
Well, Douglas merged with McDonnell Douglas, and they went belly up, but they still exist. They're still making. They were making the boosters for the shuttle program at one time. They're still making parts and things. They're not making planes anymore.
Yeah. See, my brother told me that the aviation division of McDonnell Douglas, after running that aviation division into the ground, they're all working for Boeing now, and that's why you have the massive quality control problems that used to plague McDonnell Douglas. And this is
and yes, as they did merge with Boeing. But by the way, they're asking me on the chat if you can turn your volume down a notch.
Down. Okay.
There's no satisfying these people, man. Turn it up. Turn it down. Not like that. Ooh, like that.
What? I did not do
I
any.
don't know. I'm just filling air with nonsense.
Output volume. Okay. How's this, chat?
I don't know. For me, it's fine. How about the chat? Is that okay? Are you going to stop bothering me in the chat? Anyway, what do you think about Texas, my friend?
Okay. What Texas is doing is illegal, but I still support it. Texas is enforcing federal law, which it's not allowed to do. And there's nothing in the Constitution that says that the federal government has to enforce its own laws, unfortunately. So there's no mechanism for states to force the feds to enforce federal laws. So what Texas is doing is illegal, but I support it because we need a constitutional showdown about this. And
totally agree.
Abbott has put Biden in a no-win situation. There's nothing Biden can do if he forces. I heard John Kirby say we need to strengthen the border by cutting down the barbed wire, and this is the sticking point. I heard John
and Biden today was offering to close the border if they pass my contingency funding. I thought it was closed.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're just. If he does crack down, then he's going to be accused of being like Trump. If he doesn't crack down, then he's giving people one reason less to not vote for him.
Is your weakness?
Yeah, and so what Abbott's doing, I support it, and there has to be a showdown about the border. And I know there are people. Okay, I saw you pointed me towards something on X, and I was looking at the responses. And okay, the deal that Biden wants to sign, it allows 5,000 illegals a day, and if it goes over that, then we shut down the border until
3 weeks lapse with 75% of 5,000. I mean, it has to come down and stay down for a few weeks.
Right, and I'm under no illusions that they're going to enforce anything. But
no,
we're saying, why allow 5,000? Why not zero? Okay, it's impossible to have zero illegals per day. But the point is that every time we allow in illegals, we're shafting legal immigrants. We make legal immigrants jump through every hoop imaginable, and we let the illegals in, and they're given a safety net that other people don't get. Some stupid brainless city is considering making illegal aliens into cops with pistols and badges. Now, you and I both know that the unending stream of military-age males, there's a high percentage of them that are career criminals.
They got another 19 yesterday in the terrorist list. What can I tell you? And those are the ones they catch.
Well, did you see the guy who the illegal who was?
Oh, he's an Islamist commander from what was it, Tajikistan, a party that was banned over there, an Islamist party, and he was threatening the journalists. You're gonna know who I am.
Right.
We know who he is, asshole. My question is, what the fuck is he doing within this country's borders and not in jail?
Well, because this is all part of the plan to bring down the U.S. as a world power, because there are insane people who think that the U.S. is the root of all evil. And of course, there's no rational reason to say something like that. But one of the ways you bring down our country as a world power is to flood us with illegal alien criminals, and so we can then become like Mexico. Giving illegal alien career criminals, turning them into cops. I mean, this is as insane. I mean,
come on. The only thing that would be slightly stupider is give him a commission in the U.S. Army.
Well, I'm sure that'll come. I'm sure that Lloyd Austin.
Oh, shit, I just gave him an idea.
He'll raise his head from his deathbed and say, illegal alien officers. So, I don't know. I saw a video of an entity who was confronting some poor drugstore worker, demanding to know why they don't carry tampons for men. So the question is this a biological female who's
No.
called
No,
itself?
that's a eunuch.
Well, okay, the clerk, of course, is under strict orders not to offend anyone. If it were me, I would have said, you tell me what a tampon for a man is, and I'll order it for you. And, I mean, I would just tell this entity to stop wasting my time, and that, if it wants tampons for men, it can damn well order them online, and to leave me alone because I've got work to do. But again, I mean, this is the madness. That level of madness has reached our judicial.
Yeah, but and it goes beyond. I saw that video. What I saw is a lunatic harassing a man who's trying to earn a living.
Exactly.
There's a poor guy there who's not the brightest light in the chandelier, or he wouldn't be stocking boxes in the shelves of CVS or whatever the crap it was. But he's working. He's trying to earn a living, pay his bills, and somebody comes in to harass him.
Yeah.
With bullshit that there is absolutely no reason why he should know what the hell they're talking to him about. I mean, generally speaking, it's difficult enough to keep track of what's in a store. In most stores, they will actually go online on their phones and check the availability and location of stuff, and they get a little map. But they come in and say, do you have a farafufa? A what? A farafufa? It's, how come you don't carry a farafufa?
Yeah.
And you're literally fucking off with the wrong person. The contempt that these idiots carry for mankind extends to the poor working stiff at that store.
Well,
I have zero sympathy for that.
What's interesting, I watch a lot of police body cam videos, and I've come to the conclusion that some of the best cops in this country are Black Americans. And
yes,
I saw a video of, don't ask me what the real story was. A man in a store felt a pinprick on the back of his neck, and a woman told him that she just injected him with a drug, and he had 5 minutes to live. And then she left, and she went out into the parking lot. And so this guy called 911. The cops were there in record time. It was a white cop. It was a white cop and a black female sergeant. And they found a pickup truck before it could leave. The female sergeant went over to the driver's side, and she said, "Stop the truck, put it in park, or I'm going to tase you." That was the first thing. And he was like, it turns out he was 75 and the woman was 50. And he was like, "Well, what?" She said, "You're making me mad. I'm going to tase you." So he stops. They pull the woman out. The white officer is like doing that, de-escalating. She's not cooperating. She immediately says, "Take me to the man accusing me. I demand to see the man accusing me." And so finally, the female cop.
Not a sovereign creep, was she?
I don't know. The female cop goes over and she says, "Okay, turn around. You're going to jail." So the old man starts screeching, and she yells at him to not get out of his truck. So he starts coming over the back seat. He's reaching in the back seat of the back cab of the pickup truck. So she goes over to the driver's window and starts tasing him, and he's screaming his butt off. And then the other, suddenly backup arrives. One of them is a police major. This guy flings open the door, and he grabs the guy by his ankles and yanks him out. so hard that, his chin doesn't even have time to hit the door sill, and then they cuff him too. They both had guns, real guns, stuffed into their pants. This initial white cop was like, just fire him. He was too, he didn't want to offend these crazy people. And the female cop, the black female cop, she was just cutting through all the BS. And as she was tasing this guy, it was really fascinating because she was holding her service weapon sort of down at the bottom. So if necessary, she could flip it over, grab it with the other hand, and start firing. I've never seen anyone do that. And I thought it was very effective. And I've seen this time and time again where the black American cops and actually black immigrant cops, they just cut through the nonsense. They get right to the heart of the issue. And if you don't cooperate, you go on your face and you get...
They have less social pressure.
Exactly.
You see, it's open season on white cops.
Yeah.
Black cops can afford to be themselves. I'm not going to say without looking over their shoulder, because they have to. But they have a little more leeway, so they can be more direct.
Yeah. No, sometimes the black criminal is saying, how could you do this to a brother? And the cop always says, you're not my brother.
You're not my brother, asshole.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what? Oh, by the way, did you see the trackers going to the border?
Yes.
I saw a lot of things that bothered me. This is an army of God. And they're spreading all kind of Christian nationalist bullshit. I don't know if it's coming from the trackers or for people promoting the event. And that sickens me. Whenever I see that kind of shit, it's like, oh fuck, you're not my brother. And they think that they're going to spark a what? What was it they wanted to spark in Texas?
Oh, a
what?
A civil war?
Oh, hold on. I'll be ready in a second, damn it. Oh, where are we? There we are. I'm ready, sir.
What's that in your hand? Holy God, no, Saul.
M9.
Wart.
Oh, warts?
Yeah, civil war.
No, not war, a civil wart.
No, not a civil war. Yes, not a civil war.
Never mind.
No, it's we're not going to have a civil war.
Sorry, I misheard you.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, see, we're not going to have a civil war. We're much more likely to have a plague of warts than a civil war.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, people are speaking as if they want one. We already had one, and it was the bloodiest. It caused, if you scale the population at the time up to today's population, it'd be like something like 7 or 8 million people. Or soldiers.
It was the bloodiest conflict this country has been involved in since its creation. The number of dead, I think to this day, is larger, dead and wounded, is larger than all of the other wars combined since independence.
Yeah, because, World War I, we were only in combat for a matter of months, a little less than a year. World War II, it was about 400-something thousand. The Vietnam War is 57,000, and then 4,000 in. So let's see, that's 4, 5. Yeah, I think you're right. Because World War I is a shockingly low number. It's like 17,000 or something like that.
And of course, don't get me started on the forever was, because we had less people die in those wars than they do in peacetime through accidents and illness.
Hey, actually, I was wrong. It's 53,000 combat deaths in World War One, and then 395,000 dead in World War II.
Yeah. And 50,000 in Vietnam and 470,000 in the Civil War.
Oh, the Civil War was more than that.
Just dead.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we had, I don't know. I really don't know the number. I don't want to make it up. But we had so many maimed. So many who didn't die but lost a leg, lost an arm, lost their eyesight.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. It was a country of invalids for a generation.
Oh, yeah. No, I have three. My maternal, let's see, great grandfathers and two granduncles. All three of them were 100% disabled in the Civil War, fighting on the Union side, of course.
Yes. Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But by the way, I have to tell people that the M9 was unloaded. I am not Baldwin.
Yeah, 620,000 is the estimated military dead in the Civil War, and that's battle deaths. But as you point out, I mean, there's some shocking formal portraits of veterans whose lower jaws have been blown off, and you know, the tongue is hanging on their chest, and they're standing in their best formal dress with their hand on the back of the chair.
How about the guy who had his leg bone framed?
Yeah. No, I mean,
there are lots. And by the way, can you imagine what it would have been like to fall in the hands of the field surgeons?
No anesthesia, buddies. This is why
they cut your leg with a fucking seesaw.
Well, there's photos of the tents with the piles of amputated limbs.
Yeah.
And
but Civil War. Let's have one. We haven't had one in a long time.
Well, I mean, if we do have a civil war, it's going to require a certain percentage of the armed forces to come over to the anti-government side, because otherwise it's an insurrection.
Yes.
It's not a civil war.
And by the way, all of these fuckers who claim to be Trump supporters, who are feeding the monster of the insurrectionists by essentially calling for a fucking insurrection, they have to be. I mean, anybody with half a brain has to tell them to shut up and shun them, Amish style.
Well, I mean,
they're not our brethren.
They were stupid enough to go into the Capitol building on January 6th.
Yeah, and fuck it up for the rest of us for 2 years.
My brother knew a guy who was there, and when he said the cops removed the barriers and opened the gates and said, "Come on in." And he not only didn't go in, he left the scene because he figured that it was some kind of setup. He was afraid that they were going to open fire on everybody. And then say
images of Kent State, I bet.
Exactly. And they didn't have to do that. If they had done that, it would have backfired. What they did was they went, "Oh, we're all going to die." The only person who was in physical danger was Mike Pence, and that's why poor Ashley Babbitt was shot. And there was. It's in a way, as awful as that is, they were lucky because the Secret Service carry.
Oh yeah,
they carry
I spoke with one of them.
Yeah, Yeah.
And
No, they,
and he confirmed every description that you gave me of their
yeah.
jackets.
Well, see, they have, oh, it's a Heckler and Koch MP9 7, I believe, which is only sold to military and security organizations. And this thing fits right under your jacket, and you can't tell somebody has it, but it's fully automatic. It fires 9mm rounds. And those people who were screaming for Mike Pence's blood, the Secret Service
Would have been sprayed.
and also there's something called the Secret Service counter assault team. And the counter assault, well, teams actually, they're basically soldiers. They're extremely heavily armed with full military rifles, hand grenades, shoulder fired weapons. And their job is to pour as much fire into the enemy as possible so that the president or the vice president can escape.
Yeah.
And in that little hallway there,
We would have had 30 or 40 dead in that hallway easily.
minimum.
Easily.
But see, it was better optics to make the idiots of this country think that all our politicians' lives were at stake. Even AOC, who was in a completely different building, but she still ducked
She
under
was
her.
fearing for her life in another city.
Yeah.
You know, a few people called her on it, but she's still repeating the same shit. The same thing with Kakala.
All of them. I mean, the president himself, when he was running for office, consistently claimed that his first wife and son were killed by a drunk driver, and that's a lie.
Still does.
He still does. The truck driver's brakes legitimately failed because of a design flaw. And
Yep.
the family finally contacted Joe and they said, look, this is not, he wasn't drunk. And Biden's response was, this is how I remember it, so this is how I'm going to keep telling it.
Which, by the way, what Biden is doing to the family of that truck driver is no different than what Alex Jones did to the parents of Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
The lie that in both cases demonizes the victims is the lowest in the inhumanity scale.
Well, see,
nobody can go lower than that. And, you know, Alex Jones and Joe Biden are cut from the same cloth of asshole.
This is the confluence of all leftist ideas, such as deconstructionism and intersectionalism, where words mean what you want them to mean, and because words have no intrinsic meaning, and there's no thing as objective truth, that everybody's, you still hear people saying this to this day, this is my truth. And it's like, well, what does that mean? There's either truth or
not.
Exactly. There's no such thing as your truth.
Yes. My truth is the same as your truth. No.
And this is how journalists rationalize lying, because they say this is how they see it. And their truth is as legitimate as everybody else's truth. And that's not true. There are objective facts. There is
relativism at its worst.
Pardon me?
That's relativism at its worst.
Exactly. And these are all leftist ideologies that were created. Okay, Jacques Derrida, for example.
Jacques Derrida, the asshole that came up with deconstruction.
Right. He essentially wanted the age of consent abolished. This is what it always comes down to, is that all these ideologies are promulgated because people want to get away with something.
Yeah, you called her a child. I see her as a woman. My truth is the same as yours.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I mean,
that was Derrida. You're absolutely correct.
yeah, and so anytime somebody tells you that this is their truth, you have to run as fast as you can in the other direction, because this person is trying to get away with something. This person is illegitimate, and at some point they're going to harm you in some way. They're
already doing it. They're already doing it. All of these sons of bitches have really brought about just about every ill we have in this country today. There is no reason for this. There is no reason for gas to be sold at $3.50 per gallon, let alone 5 or 8. You know what Biden just did, and everybody's so distracted with Texas, nobody paid attention. He put a pause on the development of liquefied natural gas stations.
Yeah. No.
To reduce the export of American. Now, because of the conflict in Ukraine and all that jazz, and Europe desperately looking for alternative sources to Russian gas, American exports of liquefied natural gas have gone through the roof. We're hitting record territory, and we could do more. We could supply all of the gas needs in Europe. But no, at this very point, we're going to stop building terminals so that we cannot export more gas because, I don't know, blah, 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 green bullshit.
Right. And what a great way for him to get reelected in 2024. I mean, the man is all of these people. I remember when Gray Davis was recalled sometime in the 90s, our governor.
Yeah, oh, yeah. In the 90s, I remember, because he raised, what was it, the car registration fee?
Yeah. And Michael Moore went on the Tonight Show or something and said that Davis was recalled because he wasn't leftist enough. And this is what they always said. Cenk Uygur said that Hillary lost because she wasn't
leftist enough.
The country is naturally leftist, but when politicians aren't leftist enough, they elect conservatives. Oh, okay. Makes sense to me. But now we've seen the country as far left as it could possibly get. We have the fully crammed down our necks notion that biological gender doesn't exist. Borders don't exist.
You have the moral obligation to pay for the upkeep of 500 million people in South America.
Right. Criminals don't exist. The real criminals are the police. Police forces should be abolished. Transvestites in makeup should serve in the U.S. Armed Forces.
And receive maternity benefits.
There should be no physical standards in the U.S. Armed Forces. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And this is peak leftism, and nobody's happy. Nobody is happy.
No, but the confusion still remains. Somebody in the chat was saying how Biden is doing this gas thing to hurt Texas, which, to a degree, it may. Although it will hurt Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, West Virginia. This is not done as a targeted thing to hurt Texas. This is part of a larger plan that's been going on for 3 years.
Of course. I mean,
it's going to hurt Europe. It's going to hurt the U.S. economy. And nobody's paying attention because everybody's concentrated on the civil wars.
Well, I mean, I say bravo. We've only got another year of Biden to put up with. So,
did you have to remind me?
Well,
he should fucking year. You bad person, you.
He should abolish the U.S. Armed Forces. He should do all this. He should do the craziest shit possible, in an effort to woo back the people who are interrupting him. I mean, he was giving a speech, and you had the pro Hamas nutters And then you had the people saying 4 more years of Biden, chanting that. So it's like, both sides are insane. 4 more years of Biden? Nobody sane wants that.
Oh God, I don't know if I would survive it.
Well, we can survive anything. We did
No,
survive.
I don't know if I would. I would die poisoned by my own bile.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is that we're very adaptive people, and I'm a firm believer that this country gets the government it deserves, and so if we reelect Biden, then we deserve everything we're going to get, and that's the end of it. It's not the fault of politicians. They can sell whatever snake oil they want. It's the fault of the voters, and it's really funny. They're calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. They're going to get it because Hamas is almost 90% dead.
It's almost gone. By the way, they're calling for a ceasefire. Let me. I'm Israel High, motherfuckers. The International Court of Justice, with that laughable show by South Africa, were thrown into the middle of this shit. The newspapers read shit like, International Court tells Israel not to commit genocide.
Yeah.
I swear to God, that was the headlines that I go and see the thing. And what did the court actually do? Well, it told South Africa to go fuck itself and go hunt some more white farmers or whatever. Just get out of our face. Your claims are ludicrous. Then he turned around and said that Hamas must immediately release all hostages. Then it said, essentially, that Israel is fighting a legitimate war and, go forth, my boy, and fight your legitimate war. And oh, by the way, please refrain from doing anything in future to cause a genocide. Which implicitly says it's not happening now.
Of course.
So the misleading headlines didn't say the obvious, that the International Court said, fuck you with this bullshit. You guys go and fight Hamas to your heart's content, and Hamas must return the hostages. The next day, instead of course, releasing any hostages, Hamas threatened to kill more of them if some of their demands are not met. Meanwhile, while all this circus is going on, for the very first time since 2005, we've had 5 days now with no rockets fired from Gaza to Israel.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah.
Imagine people in Israel. I talked to some people, they can't believe it. They go through 24, 48, 72 hours and there are no alarms.
Yeah.
And no rockets flying by.
No, the Rocketeers are all dead. And this is the only way to solve this. You have to kill them. And, you hear people say, how many dead children is it going to take to satisfy you? Well, again, that's a blatantly dishonest question.
Of course. They ask me that shit in Twitter every day.
Yeah, and
my answer usually is somewhere around 20 million.
Well, see, if the Israelis were strictly targeting children, it wouldn't help them win the war. They have to kill the terrorists, and
they have to kill the fighting men
and the weapons, and they're doing that. The Hamas tunnel system was much more elaborate and much deeper than expected. So what? Israelis still were able to take it. They have it's a special forces engineer unit. And these guys go into the tunnels and they go as far as they can. They have dogs. They have robots. They have little fly-sized drones, and they go as far as they can. And when they see that the tunnel up there is occupied, they plant their explosives and they retreat, and then they cave in the whole tunnel. And Hamas, as much as they put into this system, they didn't really understand that they were going to be fighting what can arguably be described as the best armed forces in the world. And it's showing. And everybody has left Hamas high and dry. Hezbollah is hedging all its bets because they understand that after Hamas comes Hezbollah.
They're going to be next. And by the way, I don't know if you saw, there was a monument in Jenin to a suicide bomber. And the IDF paid it a visit to honor the fallen suicide bomber with a couple of earth movers, and the damn shit exists no more. Several houses of Hamas leaders in Jenin and Ramallah exist no more.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of fighting in the West Bank. Nobody's talking about that, but there is. And as it should be.
Well, and the West Bank Hamas has even less weapons than the Gaza Hamas.
Yes.
The one world power, so-called, to really come out of this, to get the short end of the stick, is Iran, because we have everybody fighting people with Iranian weapons now, and Iranian weapons are crap. They're
the Sahid drones.
I remember a few years ago, the Iranians unveiled their new main battle tank, which was better than the M1 Abrams, and they showed this thing firing, and it went,
yes,
here's the gun barrel. It fired, and the barrel went boom, do 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 do, and it's like the Abrams goes boom, and then it's gyroscopically balanced, boom. The German Leopard tank, you've seen them do this, where they put a liter of beer on it, and then they drive around at 50 miles an hour without spilling a drop. The Iranian tank fires one round, and then it takes several seconds for the thing to stop rocking so that it can acquire the target. And by that time, the Abrams has pumped 2 rounds into it. So they're buffoons. Or remember their so-called stealth jet that the pilot was with his entire body exposed because the cockpit walls were right below his,
very low. Yeah, you could see the knees.
And then the canopy was up, and there was this photo taken through the canopy. It was totally cloudy. It was like a vacuum piece of.
What plane? The poor fuckers have something like 20 usable A4s.
Exactly.
Which is after destroying the rest for parts. That's all they have. And there was an incident not long ago that 2 of them were patrolling in the Arabian Gulf. Some people will say it's the Persian Gulf. No, it's the Arabian Gulf. I don't give Iran even the name of the Gulf. And these 2 were patrolling there, and suddenly, out of nowhere, an F-16 appeared under them. And the guy in the F-16 at that point made contact, says, boys, if I were you, I'd get the fuck out of here. And they broke and left in a straight line back to Iran.
Oh, yeah.
The F-16 was able to fly and maneuver to the point that the pilot could touch the A4s, practically. Of course he couldn't, but in practical terms. And the guys, because they're blind.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
fucking blind in there. They can't see what's coming at them. Of course, the F-35 or the F-16 could blow them out of the sky long before they know there is another plane within 50 miles.
Well, that's the thing. And suddenly, every European country is quacking about how they really, really, really need to support Ukraine. The Turks said, okay, the Swedes can come in. Hungary said, okay, I'm not going to block the military aid to Ukraine. They all sense a change in the wind.
Yes.
Something wicked this way comes, and that wicked.
They are increasing several-fold the aid to Ukraine. In some cases, like Great Britain signing a military
Mutual defense pact.
mutual defense agreement.
Friend, me too, us too. We're doing it too.
And they are dated to last until, and this is interesting, until the admission of Ukraine into NATO is final or finalized. So that tells you that they're also working to get Ukraine into NATO. Duh.
Yeah.
And the agreement comes with 2.5 billion in these, 1 billion in that. The Germans are releasing a lot of shit, the Finns, and it's not all that they need. And they need an air force, by the way, more than anything else.
And the Europeans have hung them up on that. That has nothing to do with us.
The Low Countries, Holland, gave them 16 F-16s that were slotted for decommissioning. But before delivering them to Ukraine, they're upgrading the avionics and the targeting system, which is something we haven't done for them in just about anything. In the meantime, Putin threatened Europe and Ukraine with a cold winter. You're going to freezing winter, ha ha ha.
Oh, like Russians? Like Russians?
They're the only ones freezing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you pointed out an article. You said the Russians are ramping up their military production and NATO is struggling.
Let me tell you what it is. As Moscow ramps up weapons production, NATO is struggling to keep up. The Telegraph says, adding that in 3 years' time, Russia could gain a decisive superiority on the battlefield. By the way, the Telegram, I've been telling people since I figured this out in 2016, is nothing but an echo chamber for Sputnik.
Of course. I mean,
okay?
What are they talking about?
Let me give you some. We're going to go point by point because I'm going to give you an opportunity to have a laugh. Russia is converting former shopping malls, bakeries, and other civilian infrastructure into weapons factories.
Okay. Where are they getting the what do you call it?
Machinery?
Yeah, the machinery for creating.
They don't even have lubricating oil for the shit they already have installed.
Well, okay, the Russian armed forces their greatest asset in their own minds are tanks and artillery. So,
yeah,
in order to make a tank, you need the ability to create rolled steel, and in the case of the Russian turrets, cast steel. So,
yeah,
you need machines in order to produce all that.
Well, they don't. It gets better. Russia, say the assholes at the Telegraph parroting Sputnik, has increased military expenditures from 2.7% of GDP. GDP, by the way, let's remember, is half that of Texas. To 6% or approximately 1/3 of all state expenditures. By this measure, Russia has surpassed all major NATO countries.
Yeah, but so what?
No, wait. By this measure, by percentage of a GDP smaller than one state in the U.S., 6% of GDP in Germany would be twice would be equivalent to, I don't know, 70% of GDP in Russia. So the measure is useless.
Well, this is like saying the Russians are firing 10 artillery rounds for every one Ukrainian. The Ukrainians are using almost exclusively smart artillery.
Yes, that would be it. Now, this one is even better. In 2023, Russia produced 1,530 tanks and 2,518 armored fighting vehicles.
No, they didn't.
I know, wait. This means a 560% increase in tank production since February 22. Infantry fighting vehicles production is up 360%.
No, it isn't.
Armored personnel carriers is up 350.
They
haven't produced a single fucking tank.
No. I mean, they're using their final M90 tanks, M90M. These are the last ones they have. They have no ability to produce any new tanks. They're using troop carriers from 1953. It's not even an infantry fighting vehicle. It's just a tracked vehicle.
It's a Jeep with tracks.
Did you see the Chinese golf carts that they
gave? God, yes. The Ukrainians are destroying them with stones.
But if the 300% increase in blib 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 is happening, why are they using golf carts on the battlefield?
Yeah, you're gonna like this next too. Russian Federation is approaching production of 2 million artillery shells per year.
No, it isn't.
Twice as much as Western intelligence services originally estimated. For comparison, all European production during the first year of the war in Ukraine amounted to 300,000 shells. This should include supplies of shells, missiles, and drones from Iran and North Korea. By the way, they're contradicting themselves right there.
Oh.
Getting supplies from North Korea or Iran does not equate producing them.
Well,
number one. Number two, none of this shit works.
They're getting their artillery rounds from Iran, which is shit, North Korea, which is double shit, and China, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
Yeah. Now, so far, according to the article, they've increased production of tanks and armored vehicles and blah, 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 360% and double what the West estimated in artillery shells. But so far, the level of production is unlikely to allow Russia to launch an offensive in 24.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That makes sense, right? However, the Kremlin, according to the newspaper source, plans to reach this goal in 3 years.
Oh, sure. 3 years. How about
Then
3?
we speak in German in 3 years.
No, I mean, okay, the T-14 Armada tank, number one, it doesn't exist, really. There
were a dozen prototypes and no more.
There's a dozen prototypes. They're all handmade because they don't have any of the machine tooling to make. It doesn't do a single thing that they said it would do. It breaks down when it drives more than 30 feet. It doesn't use any of it doesn't use the power plant that they advertised. It doesn't use the gun caliber that they advertised. I mean, if you take anything the Russians say at face value, then you're an idiot. This is what they do. When they say this is going to be ready in 3 years, they're giving you the T-14 was supposed to be ready in 2015. Then it was going to be ready in 2017. Then it was going to be ready in 2019.
In 2027, they'll be ready in 3 years.
Yeah.
In 2030, they'll be ready in 3 years.
Yeah.
Because it's kicking the can down the road and hoping that people are not keeping track. Now, these fuckers, they are talking about mobilizing their defense industry over the next 3 years, which implies they are looking to fight the war for at least 3 to 4 years.
Good,
What will all of these magatards that have all but celebrated with champagne Russia's victory say to this?
Well, I mean, okay, let's say the Telegraph is correct and they're going to produce all these vehicles. They're not training any of their troops. I just saw a video today. It was an assault, one of their assaults. The tank went in behind the troop carrier. The troop carrier, Russian troop carriers are so dangerous to ride inside that everybody always rides on the top. Because, okay, there have been videos filmed from the inside of armored Humvees hitting landmines. Everybody gets out alive. And if a Russian infantry fighting vehicle, a troop carrier, hits a landmine, the whole thing goes up like an atomic blast.
Yep.
And in this assault, they were using a vehicle from about 1955. It didn't even have any weapons. It wasn't even an infantry fighting vehicle, and the tank was behind it.
Hmm.
That's not how it works.
No. The tank was protecting the rear. You remember in World War II, tanks used to have names?
Yeah.
Well, this tank was named Obama.
Yeah. He
was leading from behind.
Yeah. Yeah, think about that. What an utterly nonsensical Derrida-esque thing to say. But okay, the Russians, I saw a video of, there was a T-90, and the T-90M, their newest tank, it threw a track. The crew instantly abandoned it, and what the driver did was he turned the whoever the hell operates the turret, turned it so that it blocked. First, the driver got out. The hatch is,
yes.
If the main gun is facing forward,
facing forward, the hatch will not open because it is in our tanks and things. Our hatch is on the side.
Yes.
This one is down in the middle of the vehicle. So if it's pointing forward, you're gonna hit the
barrel. So the driver got out, and then the guy operating the turret, I guess maybe the commander or the gun,
more likely,
he rotated it back to try and cover the turret, but he left this little tiny gap. So a Ukrainian drone operator dropped an incendiary grenade
right through the gap.
That it ricocheted. He did this deliberately. It ricocheted off of two different surfaces and went right into the hatch, and the whole tank went up. And after the explosion, all that was left were the wheels. So they're not training any of their troops, and they can come up with 1 million tanks. If they keep using them the way they're using them, it won't matter. The Ukraine
it'll just shoot up their casualties.
Ukrainians.
I wonder. By the way, if the new facilities are in Krasnoyarsk, where they have no electricity.
Say it again. They don't what?
I wonder if the new factories are in, say, Krasnoyarsk, where they have no electricity and no fuel, or Rostov-on-Don, where they have no electricity and no fuel.
They don't exist.
And by the way, whatever the fuck happened to their air defenses? Because I've seen Ukrainian drones blowing up fuel depots from from Krasnoyarsk to St. Petersburg.
They don't have an air defense because they were all sent to Ukraine. And the what was I going to say? The reason, one of the millions of reasons that the Russian armaments industry is garbage is because all the different manufacturers constantly fight each other and try to sabotage each other. And
Yep.
Putin is doing exactly what every dictator does, is he keeps his underlings fighting each other constantly so they
So they
can't,
don't fight him.
they won't unite and overthrow him. And the side effect in the armaments industry is that you get nothing done. So let's say they decide to
Throw massive corruption on top of that.
yeah, let's decide that let's say that they decide to convert all these malls and places into factories. Well, there's going to be a massive battle over who gets to work in the factories, and in the end, nobody will be setting up in the factories. What about the workers? Okay, the Russians decided that they had all these gigantic 5,000-pound bombs from the 1950s. So they put wings and a tail on them to make them gliding bombs.
Gliding bombs. Yep.
They had welded the wings and the tails on, and in the propaganda video, every single person in the world who knows anything about welding said the welding is crap. Nobody knows how to weld. All the welders are dead.
Yeah.
So they started trying to drop these things, and they have to drop them from far back over
30 miles away.
And so
because if not, the Ukrainians are going to shut the plane down.
And the tail surfaces immediately fell off, and these bombs dropped in Russia and blew up in Russia. So they can't even weld rudimentary gliding wings, flying surfaces onto bombs, but they're going to make brand new tanks and artillery pieces?
Of course not.
No.
Of course not. And the numbers, they were able, by the way, it says that they made 1,500 tanks. No, they refurbished 600. They lost 2,300.
Oh, well, they've actually lost close to 5,000. I mean, they're...
No, the 5,000 in the 2 years. I'm talking about just 23.
Yeah. No, I mean...
So they cannot make them as fast as they lose them.
Well, and
every month they have a net loss.
And they keep losing their most expensive brand new material. The $250 million anti-aircraft radar system was just destroyed by a $1,500 drone.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't even...
Not to mention the $60 million planes destroyed with a couple of $100,000 of missiles.
Yeah.
30-year-old missiles, I might add.
Of course. I mean, the Ukrainians have told their NATO partners that they don't want any more tanks. They're going to concentrate on drones. And they're creating new drones, including ground drones, which they're using in combat. Armored ground drones, weapons-mounted drones. And this may end up being the first war won by drones. Once they inflict enough damage on the Russian defense lines, for example, then they can send in the humans in their human driven tanks and things like that. But for now, they're just pounding the absolute hell. They just killed. The Russians still insist on gathering everybody in one place, and the Ukrainians just wiped out an entire class of new drone operators before they could even go on their first mission. They all got together to celebrate their graduation, and one of them posted this on social media. We're going to be here celebrating our graduation as drone operators. So the Ukrainians sent one HIMARS missile, and that was the end of the entire unit. And Saul fell asleep.
No, I didn't fall asleep. I was just telling the folks in YouTube that we're going. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay.
Well, I did that, and we are off YouTube now. Ha ha.